This is Joe from ArtAlienTV, and today I'm going to be showing you predominantly this set of images here. This is Sol 1467, mass right. We got an enhanced one here and a raw one here. This is the mobile phone artifact. Now, credit must go to the person that found this and sent it in to me. I think it was 6 years ago. Here we are, spotted by Lawrence, 9th of May 2018. So quite a while back now. The reason I'm doing this again is because if you look at this image closely, when I zoom in, the quality isn't very good. The actual image itself is all kind of choppy and there's lots of distortion in there. Now, those are JPEG artifacts. Now, the problem is, and if you can even see it in the raw image here, when you can see all this kind of choppiness around the object. Now, what I've got here is a new one where I cleaned up the image first. There's the raw image there. You can see this is cleaner. Look how clean that is around it, right? You haven't got all these choppy bits around the edge. This is a much more accurate depiction of what we're actually looking at because the image was cleaned up first. Now, if you look really carefully, you can see this thing has buttons on it. They don't show very well in this because this is only being enhanced a little bit and color corrected. The raw one's down here. And use the magnifier, there it is, the mobile phone. And in fact, on this, you can see these spots, these light spots with shadows, just here, which appear to be buttons, okay? In the original video I did, I was very skeptical about it. I thought, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And I think I speculated it might be part of a mosaic or some kind of artwork or sculpture that's broken. But that is just as likely or unlikely, really. This is a bit of a tutorial, really, on how to clean these up. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you the cleaned up version of that image. This has been blurred 0.8%, okay? Now, that's a Gaussian blur. Now, you can use different types of blur. You might want to try different ones, but Gaussian blur is the one to use, but a really small amount, 0.8 or 0.75 or something around that area, maybe 0.84. Something like that. And that will give you a nice clean image, which looks like a proper photograph. In other words, you can zoom in and you can see that all the pixels are good. In other words, they all look normal, right? Let me show you the image as it comes from that page, the NASA page, when you download it. Looks fine, but when you zoom in, you've got all this crap on here. Look at that. Let me zoom in close and show you how bad that is. It's really bad. And almost unworkable, right? Now, if you were to take a clip of this now and then enhance it, you're going to end up enhancing all this distortion as well. And you'll end up with a really choppy, dirty image, right? So here it is. I zoom in. Look how choppy this is, right? Absolutely awful, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to blur it, go to Gaussian blur. It's set at 1.25, that's too high. I'm going to go to 0.8, which is one of my presets I've got here. There we are. And now we have a clean image, completely different. So let's go back, look at that. Zoom in a bit more so you can see that on your mobile phone if you're using one. How weird. But yeah, let me zoom in a bit more. There we are. Look how choppy that is. And now I'll blur it again. 0.8 Gaussian blur. Lovely. But I'm not going to sharpen this until I've actually enhanced it. The colour and shadows, all right? Do the shadows and colour first. Darken it right down. Let's go to about 65. Let's add some blue. Blue around 40 odd. 38. 37, something like that. It's still too dark. Now you can really see this thing stand out now, but it's too dark. So I'll add some brightness in there. Need to go to about 30. Go to about 30. Don't want to get too bright there. And you can see, actually, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some contrast now. And you should be able to see here, these buttons should start to show up, right? When I add the contrast, now I'm going to overdo it. and I'm going to darken it and take the brightness out. I'm going to darken it right down so you can see those buttons just there. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's about 8 or 9. I'm not sure. So this actually really does look like a mobile phone. It may not be like I said, but it looks like one, and it seems to be shaped very similar to an old Nokia. And it's slightly irregular, actually. But there's a kind of rock obscuring this corner here, like an object there. So we're not seeing that corner, but I imagine that it's symmetrical. It's got a slight curve to it. Let's go really dark. All right. Let's turn the contrast up to 40. Now, I wouldn't normally do this much, but this is just to demonstrate the details that are there. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see about 10 buttons on it now, maybe more. They're a bit vague, but they're definitely there, just here. A lot of people have said this looks like a monkey here, with 2 monkey eyes and a nose here, big, thick brow ridges. It does. It looks like an ape, like a chimpanzee or something. This is much cleaner. It's been sharpened a little bit, but not over sharpened. You can see those buttons. You can see this thing here. You can see that monkey-like face, but it's not that dark. Let's go dark on this and see what happens. So we've got a raw clip in the top corner. So we'll see what happens to both of them here when I enhance it more. Let's go darker. There we are. That's all we need to do, really. It's already had contrast added, but you can see that this thing has buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 10 I can see there now. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, what I like about this object is the fact that it's one of the few detailed technical objects that's been found on the surface of Mars. Usually we find things like broken statues, bits of masonry, building blocks, and stuff like that. Architectural fragments are the most common thing. And occasionally you might find objects, technical objects, or technofossils, which are basically fossilized and partially buried objects that were thrown onto the ground when there was a cataclysm on Mars in this area, okay? So we got destroyed buildings, and in amongst the ruins, you often see things that would have been in those houses and structures, things like ornaments and bits of furniture and tech objects as well. So I think there would have been like a rectangular sort of room here, and the walls are all collapsed in and blown apart, and it's all filled in with sand, and then loads of the rock and slate from the up here on the structure has fallen down into it as well and filled it in, right? So I think this is actually like a ruined structure. Now, this one is an absolute dead giveaway. So the one we just looked at was 1467, and this one is 1454. So pretty close by, but looking the other way, right? And we have here a set of rooms exposed. Now, there's a whole bunch of these butte structures in Gale Crater. There's dozens and dozens of them. And I think most of them, or at least a large number of them, are destroyed ruins, destroyed buildings that are now ruined and mostly buried. And you can see on this one here, if I use the magnifier, you can see rooms here. We've got one here, one here, one here, one here, and another one here. It's all kind of broken down. And there's even one underneath there, right? Just here. But it's all filled in, blown apart, and what we're seeing are the central part of the building. The outer parts have all been blown away here, where the rooms would have been, but the inner part of the structure is still there, right? The central part. So this would have come right out, probably more rectangular like this, right? The rooms would have come right out like this. I've got an enhanced clip of that here. I'll show you that. It's probably better. It's difficult to get this across, but if you look carefully, we have a room here, another room here. We've got dividing walls, another one there, and there's a whole row of them. There would have been at least a dozen on this side alone, and probably another dozen on the other side, right? if you look at the structure, the whole thing, you can count these rooms as you go along. And it was multi-layered. So this is just the top row. There's another row underneath, and we got one here, right? Just here. These others are buried. You can't see them very well, but they're all in a row. So we would have had a row of 12 at the top, another row of 12 below, and probably another row of 12 below that, just on this side of the butte, right? So you're talking 36 rooms this side and another 36 on the other side, right? That's 72. So this is like a tenement, like you would see tenement flats in old Edinburgh or places like that, or Glasgow, where you would have a large building with loads of rooms, right? Tenement flats. That's what these are, okay? And you can actually see, once you know that, and once you see the whole thing, you can count them: one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and a lot of it's buried and destroyed. Like this bit's all destroyed. You can see another room there, right? And there would be another one here, and underneath, and they'd come right out like this, right out to here. And at the back here, you can see where they were dividing walls here as well. So there'd be a row of them along here as well, going right along. And that mobile phone artifact is on the end, right? I think on the end of this one here. It's just out of shot. So when you look at this one here, right, this here, where the mobile phone is in fact that edge of this one, right? And you can see one of them here, end on here. And in this one, there's like a car-shaped object just here, which I've got a clip of. Absolutely mental. And what's even crazier about this car-shaped object here, it's got a face carved into it as well. So it's like a depiction of a car with a face. A crazy face, like a clown face there. Look at that. In like a noddy car type thing. And it also have, I mean, I've got to mention this. This was spotted by Terry Burnett, the late Terry Burnett, great researcher. This is what looks like a machine gun. And this is on top of that row, that tenement row. So what I think happened here, in this particular area, is that all these were destroyed at some point. And let me show you where the machine gun is. This was like a row of flats, and or tenement flats, or whatever you want to call it, right? Like a building complex. And there was a war, obviously, and soldiers mounted guns on top of this row of flats here. And here's one of them here, right? What looks like a machine gun. There's not a lot of detail there, but others are in the area. I've shown other ones. I've shown other guns, things like cannons, corroded machine guns, and stuff like that. They're few and far between, but there are a few others. I've shown them before. So I actually think as the war kicked off, a lot of this stuff was bombed and blown apart. Soldiers decided to use this as a sort of barricade, or a sniper position, or perhaps it was put up here to shoot down or shoot an aircraft, like an AA gun, anti-aircraft. And you've even got here, in this one, you've even got just here, if you look carefully, you got the gun there. If you look below, what looks like a port there, or like a window. So this is almost like it was converted into a sort of military bunker. And it may have always been a military bunker. But I'm judging by what I'm finding in between and on the ground, in between some of this wreckage and ruins, I think normal people were living here, and it was just commandeered by the military and used as a firing position because of its elevated position, right? But you can see those rooms there, one, two, three, four, and there's a row below, but they're buried. You can see the dividing walls coming down like this here. And you can also see the dividing wall there, dividing wall. There would be one there, but you can't see it. Dividing wall here. They go right along, and there's rows and rows of these things, right? This is one of the better ones. And this is what one end looks like. This is right near that mobile phone. I think the mobile phone's just down here to the left, out of shot, right? It's just over there. And we got loads of crazy stuff in here, right? This is one end. And there would have been a room here as well, probably. There would have been a wall coming down here, and then another one down here. So that would be 72. That's each side. So there's probably 3 on each end, maybe. Right? It'd be one at the top, one in the middle, one at the bottom. So you're talking 78 rooms, I estimate, on one of these structures. So a 78 room set of flats or tenement building structure. Now, I called it a bunker in the original video, machine gun on bunker. And you can link to the original videos of this, by the way, on my Gigapans. You can link to the machine gun video, you can link to that and all that as well. So there was a nuclear war here. But I think the story is way more complex than that. There may have been a nuclear war way back, and there were survivors, and they came back, and civilizations carried on, but there were wars later on as well. And I think that the story of what happened to the people on Mars is way more complex than just them being wiped out millions and millions of years ago. I think there are still people there now, they're underground, and this is just remains of the civilization that was upstairs, okay? But the reason we have things like this flying around on the surface of Mars, things like this flying V UFO, is because there are people still there, and they're spying on the rovers. They're using drones like this. This may even be an actual aircraft, not just a drone. This is quite large. I think this is about 10 foot or 12 foot wingspan on this thing. A bit bigger than a little drone, I think. Quite large. But there are smaller ones as well that I've shown. And there's even things like insects flying around. I mean, there's so many crazy things that I've shown over the years. I think it's pretty indisputable now that there wasn't a civilization there. Things like these UFOs here, aircraft and the UFOs, dictate to me that there's still something going on there. And there may even be a low-level conflict still happening on the surface. Okay? They may still be fighting now. We don't know. In some of these videos, I've shown these chasing each other, right? In this area. So there's something weird going on. So just because we have evidence that there was a nuclear war on Mars doesn't mean there isn't people still there and that there's no activity. I think there is activity, although limited, and they may still be fighting. For all we know, we don't know. So check these out. I mean, this is one of the best ever. 1554 and 1467, okay? 2 classic Gigapans with, I would say, irrefutable classic evidence of a civilization. Now, you may dispute what this is, whether it's a phone or something else. That's fine. But it's pretty obvious this ain't no normal rock. And it's extremely obvious, I would say, that this row of structures is not natural, right? And anyone who says they are has an ulterior motive, right? A row of rooms exposed on the side of a ruined set of flats with a machine gun on top. I mean, or something that resembles a machine gun on top, right? Just there. There he is, up there, look. Look at the details. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the links below. If you're not subscribed already and you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I only need about another 540 to get to 50,000 subscribers, so please subscribe. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.